Hi there, welcome to The Factor. Joining me today, my first guest is Mr. Brannon Brewer, Country Director, Peace Corps Guyana, coming out from the United States. The Peace Corps, we hear about this ever since the late President John F. Kennedy probably would have been the person to have this arm, or whatever you want to call it, as part of a brigade to help across the world, get people to volunteer, basically.
Something like that. That's right. Well, it was when John F. Kennedy was actually a candidate for president that he really espoused the belief that it's every person's individual responsibility to serve their fellow man, meaning their neighbor, their community, their country through public service, and really be a citizen of the world and support the world in however they can. So. Yeah, the Peace Corps was born through that idea. The Peace Corps is the manifestation of that.
How at that time, based on your research, that maybe the U.S. people would have taken that, given, and I stand to be corrected, that you had the draft, that people would have had to enter into the armed forces or aspects of the armed forces for a period of time. How did they take that?
Well, that was a period of big change. It was post-World War II, but before some of the movements of the 60s had kicked in. I mean, we're talking 1960, 1961 when the Peace Corps then was actually found. I think there was, coming out of the 50s, a sense of, certainly a sense of country and support for your country. There's a great revelry, I think, after the war. However, in the 50s, things did start to change, became more about the individual and individual pursuits and happiness, and maybe less about national service. And with President Kennedy, he did have a sense that we need to, with the things coming on the horizon, that we did need to consolidate as a country, understand what our values are as a single nation.
No,
and we have a responsibility that's greater than just within our own borders, and that we do seek a world of friendship and peace.
All right, so we're going to go through this step by step. First, you were telling me earlier that it's a separate arm of the U.S. government. It's different from that. Am I correct?
Right. Peace Corps is a U.S. government agency, just like any of our other departments of state, defense, so forth.
So it is a part of the government.
Right. We're not under any other agency. Because we have our own mandate, our own purpose for being. I mean, we have our own stated 3 goals, which have been unchanged.
What are those goals?
Since the inception. Well, the mission itself is to pursue world peace and friendship. Under that, then there are the 3 goals of providing technical assistance to the countries that request it through a corps of volunteers that will serve. It's for the people of other countries to come to understand Americans better as individuals, as people separate from policy, and likewise for those Americans who do go overseas to serve to come to understand the broader world, to understand other cultures, other peoples, other ways of life, other values, and to come to appreciate those and bring those ideas back home to share with others, and hopefully broaden our perspective as a nation.
Why is that important to the U.S. government?
I think that we go through different periods where the pendulum swings one way or the other, and sometimes we want to close in, sometimes we want to become real citizens of the world. But I think there's always been the acknowledgement that it's important that we don't become so focused within our own 4 walls that we're not aware of what's going on outside, and understand the importance of that in our own lives, and that we play a part of that, and especially nowadays, becomes all the more important. We're in a global economy, we have communication, the changes are making the world much smaller every day, every minute, frankly. So if there's any time that Peace Corps is needed, it's probably now more than ever before.
Well, let's go back to your base. So you have branches, I believe, across the U.S., and how do you get people to come forward and say, I want to volunteer? Maybe 2 years, 3 years. I don't know what's the period of time that they are asked to volunteer for. And who do you look for to volunteer?
First of all, it's an amazing commitment that anyone would want to uproot themselves from the life that they're accustomed to their family, friends, job, all the things that are familiar to them. And to go to someplace new that maybe they've heard of, maybe they haven't for 2 years of their life. They just feel like they have something to contribute that's more important than just helping themselves. And the people you find that join Peace Corps are of all ages. I think maybe our youngest is 23 and our oldest is 70. And that's the same throughout Peace Corps around the world. Yeah, you get that age group, but they all do have they all do share that enthusiasm, that motivation, that idea to do something that's not just self-serving, but they're also interested in other peoples, other cultures, other ways of life. So there is a fascination with that. It all comes together in the package of being a Peace Corps volunteer.
What skills are you looking for when people fill up that application to be a Peace Corps volunteer?
Well, the process is very long. I think it's about a year on average of the application process. So getting in is not easy. We look for...
And that is because of the overwhelming response to be a
Well, that's part of it, is that there are more people applying than there are positions around the world. Okay. But we are looking for a very certain kind of person who's going to excel, who's going to succeed in a new environment with those kinds of challenges that they cannot foresee themselves. They go in with an idea, they want to be a volunteer, but the reality, I mean, they're faced with challenges that they've never expected. And so we're looking with people who are very resilient, very flexible, very enthusiastic, very optimistic, who can have technical skills that are worth something to somebody else. They have some value. If volunteers are working in small business, they need to have some sort of background where it can contribute to that effort. If it's in health, the same. Education, we look for teachers who are qualified. If there's an agriculture program in another country, well, we're looking for people with backgrounds in agriculture and farming and husbandry of livestock and that sort of thing. So it's challenging to get in, and then once they've gotten in, Peace Corps as with our headquarters as a whole, we'll look at all the different countries we're in. We're in 75 countries right now with all different types of projects. And so they'll match the skills to the need expressed by the country post, which is us. So we have health and education projects, and so we're specifically looking for those people that have the skills, the experience, the knowledge, and frankly the interest to come to Guyana and work with a host institution or organization.
You are in 175 countries, the Peace Corps?
Sorry, 75.
75
right.
countries.
In the last 51 years, it's 139 countries where Peace Corps serves. 75 currently. About 9,000 volunteers are serving around the world, and we have about 70 of those here right now.
All right, so you have your database, so you have your volunteers. 75 countries. What happens? Country will send in a request to you via email, letter, whatever, and say, hey, we need some assistance in these areas. Is that how it works?
Well, we're here in Guyana. We're in every country by invitation of the government.
Okay.
So we're here because of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has invited us to be here. But that it's only to work in coordination, collaboration with the government, to work consistent with its objectives, with its strategy, with its identified needs. So we don't work separately as in a vacuum. We don't come in and say, oh, here's what I think what you need. It's not at all like that. First, we work through the ministries very closely to determine like what areas of the country would work in, what sectors, what individual institutions, in many cases when we're thinking of site placements, and then individual schools, organizations, NGOs, hospitals, health clinics will apply to us. They'll say, you know, a volunteer might be of benefit to us for, you know, this purpose, help us get from this point to this point. And so we'll try and see then if we have incoming volunteers that will match the needs that are expressed by that organization or that school, whatever the case. All
right, Mr. Brewer, we have to take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to ask Mr. Brewer exactly what is it that he's doing in Guyana, well, the Peace Corps group, that is, and where they are in Guyana. Stay tuned.